Good evening, everybody. This is your host, Neil Blakemore, for Bout That Podcast, episode 16. With me, as always, Mr. Luis Cruz and his hair is joining us today. Today is a very special week. We got all dapper. We got all dressed up. It is awards week. So coming up shortly, you're going to hear some nice awards. But first, the breakdown from Mr. Cruz. Take it away.
Awesome. So welcome everybody to this 16 weeks that we're doing this podcast. So let's jump right in. Okay, so week 14 scores. Lucha Maniacs 147, Tard Nation 153, Sharks 149, Team Cast Out 124, Team Hialeah Mafia 93 points, Mata Italia 83 points, the Funsies 150 points versus above average Ditkas with 120. Team Haitian Killer 127 versus the Brady's Bunch 122. The Brewery 141 versus Canadian Tiger with 119. That leaves the standings like this. We have Tard Nation and the Brewery both tie, I would say, in the first place, even though Tard Nation is first because of points. But they both have 10 wins, 4 losses. Then you follow with Metropolis Sharks, Team Haitian Killer, the Funsies, all of them with 9 wins and 5 losses. Then you have Team Hialeah Mafia with 8 wins and 6 losses. The Brady's Bunch with 7 wins and 7 losses. Mata Italia, Canadian Tiger, and Team Casal with 5 wins and 9 losses. Above average Ditkas with 4 wins and 10 losses. And then the Lucha Maniacs with 3 wins and 11 losses. Last time we'll look at this. Power rankings, rest of the seasons. The Funsies, number 1, followed by Metropolis Sharks. Above average Ditkas, who's not in the playoffs, is number 3. Tard Nation, number 4. You have Team Hialeah Mafia, number 5. Number 6, Team Haitian Killer. Number 7, the Brady's Bunch. Number 8, Mata Italia. Number 9, Canadian Tiger. Number 10, the Lucha Maniacs. Number 11, the Brewery. And number 12, Team Casal. So that is it as far as stats and numbers. So let's talk a little bit about these numbers. Commissioner, you're all the way in the bottom. What's up with that?
Yeah, I mean, hey, I guess it's a good spot to be. I mean, number 11, but number 1 in the standings. So who's ever doing that algorithm sure knows what they're doing.
I feel like it has to be some sort of monkey or like a drunk person that just say, I just put a 2 in there plus 7 and it's fine.
It would still be smarter than if we did it, right? Like, so I don't love my team, right? But at 11, I mean, I think it's just because my running backs got a little banged up. I got, Hunt injured again. I have to play the carousel with my quarterback right now. So it's kind of an unknown team. I don't know who I'm playing, so I get it. I don't have really plug in and play players at the moment.
So,
but at 11 is a little.
Yeah, that's dicey. A little bit too much. Which
especially if you're above me.
Yeah. But before we talk about kind of like the matchups, because I think the rankings and all that will bring an interesting sort of idea to the matchups for the playoffs. Before we talk about that, let's think, or let's congratulate, actually, not think. Let's congratulate Tard Nation. He won the last prize week by beating yours truly, the Lucha Maniacs, who put up 147 points. I mean, he could have not won this award without me.
Correct.
That's what I'm saying. Because if I would have put up 80 points,
well, I'll tell you what. We'll see if Rob's listening. Rob, should we give at least $5 to the Lucha Maniacs? You hit us up in the chat, okay?
Yeah, $5. Cup of coffee.
It's all you're worth. It's all you're worth, buddy.
Oh my God, worst team ever. Like by actual stats, facts. As Ricardo would say, facts.
Well, Ricardo says facts in a different way. Facts don't mean facts in his world. But for the winners of the prize week, right? So we had Rob got 2 wins, John Q got 1, the Sharks got 1, and Steve got 2 as well. So that's how the prize weeks.
He collected his money and he went home. He left the chat.
He bounced on the chat, right? He's like, "Fuck these guys."
Like
Like,
I'm not staying for this.
yeah, unbelievable. He did it last year. I remember. I actually had to like send him the link to come back. Come
He
back, please. Come back.
he came back. I'm telling you, the Canadian Tiger, man. He's gonna go hibernate as
Yeah.
soon as he hears the first, players
First
taking the
puck drop.
field and first,
All
snaps. He's gonna come back.
right. So, with that being said, so we want to thank everybody for I think a pretty good regular season. It was we had some climactic endings a little bit there with Jesse squeaking in over John Q, who John Haitian Killer's team decided to show up against Q, beat him, which got him out of the running. So congratulations to Jesse for making that last one, and everyone really for participating in the regular season. Everyone was pretty active on the waivers and in the chat a little bit. So thanks everybody for the regular season and on to the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, before we go on to the playoffs, you're right. Thank you again for everyone who have played. I mean, you have Team Castle, you have myself, you have Monica and Andy, all of these people who didn't sort of give up.
Have a chance. Oh, give up.
Steve, we all kept playing, which I think it's important. Otherwise, you get free wins towards the end of the season, and that's kind of not fair to the other people who are still competing. So, thank you everybody for playing to the very end. So let's move on to the playoffs.
So what we have now is me and Cruz here had some awards. We're handing out some awards this week for the best of. So our first award is.
Are we going to talk about the playoffs first? Talking about playoffs or awards? What are we doing?
You want to talk about playoffs? You're not in the playoffs.
Let's talk about playoffs.
Okay, let's talk about playoffs. Let's do it.
So, playoffs. So we have the Brewery and Tarnation not playing this week, so they're sitting pretty.
First bye week, yeah.
They can relax. They can let the players.
I think it's a good thing because my team in the power rankings is terrible. So I'm glad I don't have to play anybody. I had a good enough team to make the bye week, but my team's so bad. I'm glad I'm not playing anybody.
Yeah. So the reason that I wanted to talk about the playoffs, besides making Neo feel good about his bye week and complain about his team, even though he's number 2, it's kind of what we saw on the rankings. We complain about those rankings that we think are crazy, but let's just assume that they're somehow they know more than we do. Interesting enough, you have a situation where if really for the rest of the season, the 1 and 2 teams are the Fancies and the Sharks, they're opposite sides of the bracket. So we could see the Fancies versus Shark sort of fighting for that spot at the end if they make it, fighting for that spot to become kind of like join Neil, join Ricardo, and join Monica having 2 championships each. But before that, you have the Fancies and Team Haitian Killer, and then Hialeah Mafia and the Sharks. So what do you think, Commissioner, of the 2 first matchups that we have this week?
Well, I like both the Funsies and the Sharks to take that down. Like you said, I think they have the strongest teams right now. I think Ricardo losing some of his players a few weeks ago hurt him. We don't know if Josh Allen's going to play. So I think it's going to be a tough matchup there. Jesse's going up against the Sharks, and he's just had a solid team all year. I hope Jesse wins for the benefit of me. He's in my bracket. Shout out to Jesse. Wink, wink. So I hope he can take it down, but I think it's going to be the Sharks versus the Brewery and the Funsies versus Tarnation in round number 2.
Yeah, we'll see what those Hialeah mafiosos can do. Maybe they'll do some shark soup, shark fin soup. And then the Fancies and Ricardo, that's just fun right there.
It's not fair. It's really not fair. Ricardo has no chance.
Yeah. So now we can move on to awards, and let's begin by giving the award to the best comeback team of the season. That one is, remember guys, first 6 weeks, kind of like whoever's in the playoffs, but had the worst team on the first 6 weeks. So there were
just from record-wise.
Points. Yeah. So The two teams that are in the playoffs and had the worst teams. The runner-up is Jesse. He had 3 losses, and he had scored 788 points, 0.2 to be exact. And then we have the award winner, the Brewery, Mister. I'm wearing a tie today. I'm looking pretty, you know. He's actually, annoyingly enough, the best comeback team. Which we've already talked about this. We might change the regulations next year because
hey, just give my award.
I mean, this guy, you know. And remember,
these
there are no prizes for these awards. Just to clarify this.
Well, thank you. I mean, I'm still going to accept mine. Thank you very much. I'd like to thank the Canadian Tiger for crushing me in week number 1 and humbling me and allowing me on this journey to catch the comeback team of the year. I know I had a lot of doubters. Mr. Ricardo was one of them, but look who's on top, Mom.
So just to clarify that, Neil had 3 losses as well, just like Jesse, but the tiebreaker was the points. Neil only scored 772 points and Jesse 788 points. So technically, or not technically, factually, Neil had the worst team that made the playoffs in the first 6 weeks. Because you have some very bad teams. I had, I think, 5 losses at that point.
You just couldn't come back, man.
I couldn't come back. It was done.
All right. So we're gonna move on to some individual player awards on your team. So this one, I don't know if Cruz just forgot or we just don't have a runner-up for this category, but the winner of the best kicker award is Nick Folk. Actually, he was undrafted. He has a total of 144 points, which averages almost a little over 11 points a game. Now, I believe he is on the Sharks team. So that was a good pickup on the waiver. He was undrafted, 11 points a game. Best kicker, Nick Folk.
Yeah, I don't want to. I purposely did not put a runner up. I hate kickers. I think they're awful. I mean, it's called football, you know.
Well, if you had Nick Folk, if you had Nick Folk, you would be singing a different tune, I think.
Yeah, maybe. But
all right, what's the next one?
The next one is that category that we all want. Like every year, everybody is looking for that guy that it's, you know, who is going to be the best running back. So runner up in that, and by the way, we pick these on our own kind of like ideas. We use kind of points and stuff like that. So some of these, if you go and look them up, they might not be the second overall. We make our own stuff.
Yeah, nobody's going to question and look anything up. Yeah. Let me tell you.
Yeah, I forgot that I'm the only nerd of the league. But anyways, runner-up, Austin Eckler's 19.4 points per game, a total of 247 points. But the best running back was Jonathan Taylor. He was drafted 8th, and he has averaged 22.6 points per game for a total of 294 points. I think maybe at some point, if Derrick Henry was not injured, maybe he would have been right there.
Well,
but he's injured.
Yeah, we talked about that. Like it's you had a lot of injuries to people in the first round, right? CMC would have been probably there if, you know, these guys. So I mean, it's just too many injuries in the first round. But yeah, Jonathan Taylor drafted 8th. I was pick number 9, and I got Mr. Aaron Jones. I would have taken Taylor. So it's just how the dominoes fall there. But he's been great this year. He really has. Next up, we have the best wide receiver. I think we all know who that's going to be, but maybe you didn't know this. The runner-up, which he has a case for the best if you ask me and Cruz, but the runner-up is Deebo Samuel at 18.44 points per game with a total of 220 points. The reason he can make a case for being number 1 is he was drafted in the 72nd spot. I mean, that's you great value for you draft somebody. But the best wide receiver was Cooper Kupp, drafted at 45th on Ricardo's team. He averages over 21 points a game with a total of 280. He's just been a beast all year. He gets so many targets from Matt Stafford. I didn't think it was going to happen. I actually picked Thielen just right before Cooper Kupp. I thought they might struggle for a year, but that did not happen. Cooper Kupp, your best wide receiver.
Yeah. So let's move on to best tight end. Canadian Tiger drafted 2 tight ends. One of them was horrible, and the other one I think was great, but maybe not where he expected, because the runner-up for best tight end is Travis Kelce. He was drafted 10th, and he's averaging 12.2 points per game. But he was beaten by Mark Andrews, who was drafted 67th overall, and he's averaging 13.1 points for a total of 170 points. Now, the tight ends for me is a position that if you happen to find that tight end that nobody knew what was coming up, it can give you such an advantage that I felt that I needed to have an honorable mention here, and he's my player as well. So I wanted to sneak in an award here for one of my players, and that guy is Dawson Knox. He's undrafted. He's averaging 11 points per game for a total of 120 points. And yeah, Dawson Knox, honorable mention for the tight ends.
Well done. He's on an awesome team too. Yeah. I'm purposely going to skip the next award because that's for an actual owner. So I'm going to go right to best quarterback for the year. The runner-up is, I think, a surprise. I mean, I didn't really hear about him. I heard about him, but not as much. We have Justin Herbert, was drafted 85th, and he averages 22 points a game. I think he's on the Funsies team. And he had 30 touchdowns this year. So he's done very, very well. He's actually a pretty scary guy in the AFC West against my Kansas City Chiefs. So, but the best quarterback is Father Time, old man Brady, Tom Brady, getting it done again. Drafted 83rd, averaging over 24 points, 36 touchdowns this year. The guy's an animal. I don't know how he does it.
Yeah, I could see if you fast forward in time, I could see Hannah doing this, taking over the commissioner duties and being like, the best quarterback is
once
Mr.
again
cyborg, half human, Tom Brady.
Once again. That's crazy.
So I didn't catch that. Why did you skip the last
well, because award? An actual owner gets it instead of just an individual player.
Got it. I put that there because I kind of wanted to sprinkle them.
Okay. Well,
so you want to do that?
I guess we need to communicate better.
Yeah. Let me just do
I'm
that.
not a big sprinkler. I don't like sprinkling.
No. I think what happened here is that the guy who won the best award beat the commissioner here. So the runner-up for the best tinkerer is our commissioner.
They're going to be confused. Right, we've been quarterback, running back, now tinker. But go ahead.
Yeah. Hey, listen. This is our show. We do whatever we want. You're lucky. I'm not drinking right here.
You're going rogue, man. Yeah. You're going rogue.
So runner-up, Neil Blakemore, 47 moves and has a record of 10-4. So remember, guys, the guy with the most moves and the best record is the winner of this. And in that case, it's Rob. He made 61 moves and has a record of 10-4. He was active. So we know probably that those kids in his gym thing are probably not being watched very closely. It's like if somebody falls, it's like, Timmy, wait, let me get my streaming defense first, and then
definitely at least during the waiver period, he is on it. He has 2, 3, 4 moves a week, man, just for no reason. Sometimes it's just he drops bench players, picks up bench players. Yeah. So you gotta love it. Yeah.
So you can do the next one, Commissioner.
Okay, we're gonna sprinkle back the actual awards for best defense. Your best defense. Runner-up was the Patriots with 13.77 points a game, drafted 167th. But the best defense was an undrafted team. The good old Cowboys.
How about them Cowboys?
Averaging 14 points, a total of 182 points. They are currently on the 11th power rankings team, which is mine. So hopefully they can help me be in the best defense. But yeah, undrafted.
So we are moving on to the almost last award, and that is
good transition.
Yeah. We've been doing this for how many weeks now?
16.
Yeah, it's like what I do with my hands. So, anyways, MVP. Who is the MVP of the season? Who is that guy that sort of it's bringing you it's bringing you to the promised land? And I don't know how the commission is going to feel about this. I don't. He already expressed his feelings that I go rogue sometimes, but the runner-up is a wide receiver, and that is Devo Samuel, drafted 72nd overall, averaging 18 points per game, 18.44 total points of 220 points, and only 2 games with 10 or less points, essentially. And I'm going to let the commissioner give us the MVP. So, commissioner, who is the MVP?
Well, it's interesting. Both MVPs are wide receivers. So with that one, it's also Cooper Kupp is going to be your MVP, and I agree with it. And I think he didn't average the most points total for the league, but he did average 21.6, which is the most for a wide receiver. And the important thing, he only had 1 game with 10 points or less. So he was just a put in or plug in and leave guy. He always going to get you points. And since he was drafted at 45th overall, that's really good value for being such an impact player. So Cooper Kupp is your MVP this year.
Yeah. So before we go on to the one things on our notes, Commissioner, we talked about this, but it's not there. But I think it's a good transition to give one last bad one, and then we move on to the best thing ever. I guess it's the most important award. It's a good transition. The runner-ups for MVPs are 2 wide receivers, and the reason behind that, I mean, to give people an idea, is we had, which I think it's the commissioner could probably agree with me, the bust of the season, drafted in the second round, and that guy is Allen Robinson. This guy, wide receiver, drafted in the second round. So you spend your capital. This is a guy that you're supposed to actually do what Cooper Kupp did, which is you plug and play. You just put it there in your lineup and kind of forget about it. He has been horrible. He's averaging, horrible numbers. I don't know why Jesse still has him in his lineup. I'm sure that if he would have dropped it, I would have picked him up because my team is horrible. I still would have played him.
You need a bear, yeah.
Yeah, and the runner up, I think for that one, I think we agree with Zeke, which is in my team. It's just a guy that drafted in the first round didn't do much.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it probably would be Zeke because he was drafted so high. Now we could give the awards to a guy like CMC or Barkley, but they were injured so much. It's really not fair. Even though Zeke had low points on certain games, and that just like CMC was just injured too much. He got 0 pretty much every week.
Yeah, and I guess also just the expectations, right? Because I mean, you have expectations for CMC and Barkley, but I mean, these guys have also been injured last season, so it's not a huge surprise versus someone like Zeke.
But it's disappointing. You draft so high and they get injured. But yes, definitely Allen Robinson, I would believe, and Jesse's going to roll with him. Hopefully has a big game against the Sharks for me.
Yeah.
All right. With that said, we have the best team. That's the best team. I don't know what. I guess Cruz is doing some drilling over there. I don't know what's going on.
It's supposed to be like drums.
Drum roll? Like, yeah. Oh, okay. The best team runner-up is going to be surprising. The runner-up, we picked Rob as the runner-up for best team. And we'll give you our reasons.
It rhymed. Rob, runner-up. Does that rhyme?
Does that rhyme?
I don't know. It's that.
Well, no, it doesn't.
Okay. I'm still learning English, so.
Okay. So Rob's your runner-up. And we'll give the reasons why in a second. Cruz will break it down. But your best team is no drum roll. Your best team is okay. Danny, team Metropolis Sharks is your best team. The
Sharks.
And Cruz, why don't you break down why we had it that way, even though Danny has less wins?
Oh, we like Danny. That's what it is.
Thanks for the show, everybody.
Yeah, Danny. We like Danny. No. So the reason behind it is, so you have Rob with a better record, but then when you take a look at the amount of points that Danny scored, it's a huge difference. We have 1,872 points for Danny, and Rob 1,745 points. And then the other thing that, if you guys remember, which you probably don't, nobody checks anything that I write, put effort, sweat, and tears. No, not really. I just like
easy, easy, buddy, easy, big fella.
I just put this out. Anyways, one of the things that we mentioned was top 24 players in the roster. Why 24? Because we have, like I said, I think your first 2 rounds is kind of where you want to have those top guys, the guys that are going to sort of be the foundation of your team. So the idea was, at the end of the season, who has the most top 24 players in positions, so it's you have maybe the number 11th running back, and you have the number 7 wide receiver, and so on and so on. So Danny has 11 of those players. So he has 11 players. That's everything, his bench included. Top 24 in the top 24 position, and Rob has 8. So I think when you accumulate all that information, we decided.
Hold on. So between Rob and Daniel, they have 20, or they have 19 of the 24 top players.
Remember, you have different positions. So you have quarterback, defense, kickers.
Of each position. Okay.
Each position. Okay. Yes.
Still.
Yes. By position. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean that's
Rich, what do I got? 1? I don't think I got any.
Oh, no, you have 9, I believe. Yeah.
9.
9.
Oh, defense. I got my defense.
Yeah, but the thing, it's like it also, it's important to know that at some point, when you're talking about top 24 as well, nobody cares when you have the 19th. Seriously, when you have the 19th wide receiver, he's not really much of a difference between the
16,
30 or something like that. Like maybe it's like 5 points different or something like that, or so there you have it. Well Danny, the best team of the season so far.
Danny. Right? Yeah, congratulations. Well, that doesn't necessarily translate to a championship, because I think I'm going to take it down this year, and we'll see.
We'll see.
Anything else to add in awards week?
No, that's it, Commissioner. That's all we
Bruce,
have for this week.
I have a special one. We have the award for the best host.
Okay.
Thank you,
everyone.
I spoke with the committee.
I've been working very hard.
I spoke with the committee. It was close, but they decided to give it to me. So
I'm gonna be challenging that in the court of fantasy football.
But you were the runner-up. Okay, you were the runner-up.
Awesome.
All right, guys.
Okay. Bye, guys.
All right, have a good one. Good luck this week. Like $1 million, baby.